out night after night, or day after day, through my entire, mature years, that a strong imagination begets the event. Now, I took that theme from the current issue of Time magazine. You might have read it. It's in the current issue. The man who said it was quoting Montaigne, the great French essayist, who lived in the 16th century. He undoubtedly has influenced the thinking of most thinkers of the world. And he quoted it in Latin when he presented a product that he had, and then translated it for them, which is, a strong imagination begets the event. Now, this is his story. At the age of 36, in 1946, he inherited a business from his father. He became president of the company. It made photocopies of things. It was in Rochester, New York. It's called the Haloid Company. But in 46, the war was over, and all the great orders that came into him, or into the company, began to be cut back. The government cut it down to practically nothing. He had to look around for something else. And someone suggested that he look into a certain invention that came out in the 30s, but was never commercialized. It was offered to IBM, and they turned it down. It was offered to Kodak, and they turned it down. Offered to the A.B. Dick Company, and they turned it down. So he took it home and looked it over. And to him, he thought it had much in its favor. For the next 12 years, he simply imagined. Just imagine. Of course, he did put money into it. His company was making money, and what they made in 12 years, he put all that they made in 12 years plus what he could borrow. So he invested $75 million. Half of that his company in 12 years had made, and he borrowed loans and issued stock in order to get this thing moving. In 1960, 12 years later, he brought out the first tangible evidence of this machine. He took no salary in that interval. He took stock in lieu of salary. He persuaded his executives to do the same thing and just take stock if they could live. Well, he and 300 odd became multimillionaires. That thing is zero. Today, it's $1,700,000,000 a year, one of the giants in our country. $1,700,000,000 a year. Last week he died having lunch with Governor Rockefeller and his wife, and sitting at the table having lunch, he simply collapsed at the age of 61. He was chairman of the board of trustees of his alma mater, the University of Rochester. And in that capacity, he persuaded the board to put $196,000 of their money into his stock. In less than 10 years, that $196,000 was worth $120 million. That's what it was worth last week. 196,000 became 120 million. And when he died, he left his alma mater $20 million outright and millions more in trust. And under his picture, if you have a copy, it's this week, it has imagine, imagine, imagine. And when he made the first sales pitch for his machine, he quoted this Latin phrase of Montaigne, and which translated simply means a strong imagination begets the event. And he took this little thing that was turned down by the giants. IBM turned it down. Kodak turned it down. A.B. Dick turned it down. All giants. But he had faith in it, but he had faith in his own imagination. That is the story behind the entire article, as you will see it in the current issue of Time magazine.